Alright. Whoa, lag. Oh my gosh. Alright. That's better. So, hey guys, Lirlim here bringing you a 1v1 between Brian and his opponent, Imperishable, as the Green Terran. This is going to be the second match between the two of them in the StarCraft 2 tournament. Imperishable is going to be spawning in the bottom corner of Xel'Naga, while Brian, as the Red Terran, is going to be spawning up here in the top right of the map. Brian won the first game pretty cleanly with just Hellion harassment, Hellion drop-in, taking out all of his SCVs. That was a nice win from Brian. If Brian can win this round, then he'd have won the. He'd have, I don't know how to say that. If Brian wins this round of play, Brian is going to win the entire thing and have points up in his thing. I don't know, okay? But if Imperishable wins this, then we are going to a sudden death third game in the best 2 out of 3 match. So let's root for Brian. Let's hope he wins this, and best of luck to him in the tournament. Over here we can see Imperishable going to the Xel'Naga tower with his SCV scout, and he's going to be continuing on to Brian's base. Both players' SCVs are intercepted and just hacking away at each other. Brian takes out that scout. Imperishable's down by 1 SCV now. He's lost his scout, so he's not going to be able to figure out what Brian's going. So Brian would actually have the upper hand right now. Brian is now sending his scout to figure out what Imperishable's doing over at his base. And looking at the production tab, both players' command centers are halfway done. Both players have 1 Marine out, and Imperishable's finishing up his wall. Brian still needs 1 more supply depot to finish up, and it looks like Brian is 2-raxing at the moment. He might be rushing to end this quickly. Hold on.
Jared, give him a back.
Okay. Brian's injured SCV is working on his final supply depot. And looking at the APM, over here Brian is supply blocked. Just got unsupply blocked. So that supply depot right there was a little delayed. Over here we can see Imperishable going for a factory. He's also got double refinery, double gas, so he might be going the same build as Brian went last game. He's going for a tech lab, so we're either going to see tanks, siege tanks, or Hellions. If he goes Hellions, then he's getting the tech lab for the pre-igniter upgrade, and he is going tanks. He's going for some pretty early tanks, I would say, too, because Brian is just now getting his second refinery. He's also got out 1 factory with a tech lab on the way, and Brian's got a double reactor. Oh, never mind, just 1 reactor and a barracks with a tech lab. Tech lab on this factory. But Imperishable might be going for some early pushes with that tank and the siege tech on the way. He's got 1 tank out and siege tech halfway done. Brian's supply blocked again. Sorry about that. People love to interrupt me when I'm trying to do this. Hope that didn't unsync anything. Anyways, we can see Brian going for the MM build Marauder. He's going for tanks, Marauders, and Marines. While over here, Imperishable is going straight up Siege Tech and Marines. But it looks like he's not going to be pushing out with these tanks just yet. He's going to be defending right now, putting them in siege mode right at his base. Pumping up Marines pretty slowly. And he's also got a starport on the way. So, I don't know what he's going to be doing that. Drops, maybe? Ooh, but it looks like Brian's going to be pushing in with his army. He's got 4 Marauders, 2 siege tanks, but just 1 coming on the way. 13 Marines. This looks like it's going to be a pretty effective push. But then again, Imperishable's got these siege tanks right here at his base. So the second Brian touches that ramp, he's going to be in trouble. Let's follow his army, see what he's going to do. A bit laggy there. And he touches the tanks, siege tanks blowing away those Marauders. 1 Marauder goes down. Brian's got siege tanks of his own right now. Brian's sending in reinforcements. He's got Hellions now, but this turtle is probably just way too good. 2, 3 siege tanks that are gonna hit him right when he touches the ramp. And Imperishable's also got a Viking now. Not sure what he's going to be doing with a Viking. He's going mass Viking. He's getting a second Viking too. Brian's Imperishable's pushing up his tanks as close as he can. So the second Brian moves up, his army is going to be just hit hard. Look at the production tab. Brian's got a stim pack halfway done. He's probably waiting for stim pack. I get it. Imperishable's probably getting Vikings to counter any Banshees that might want to attack the siege tanks. It's possible. Over here at Brian's base, we can see him grabbing an armory, and he's also got a starport. And Brian is also working on his expansion, as well as Imperishable. Brian will get his expansion out sooner, so we're going to have a slight economic boost advantage from Brian. Right here, Imperishable's inching his tank closer and closer to Brian's. Both siege tanks are like neck and neck to hitting each other. Brian is going to move back just a bit, sending 1 Marine in, realizing that the tanks have moved up, and both tanks are on siege. Oh, Brian gets it right when that one was on siege, but now these guys are gonna. Brian destroys both tanks using stim. Did he use a stim? I'm pretty sure he used a stim. Yeah, he got both tanks without doing too much damage. Brian's gonna need some medevacs on the way to heal these stimmed Marines and Marauders. Brian's sending in another Marine to check out what's going on. Siege tank right in place. These Vikings are giving Brian's siege tank's vision, so Brian's forced to push back. Brian had no shot on this siege tank, so Brian's forced to retreat. Imperishable is doing really good right now. He's in great shape. He's getting 3 barracks right now. He's also got his siege tanks spread out really far, and he's also going to be landing his expansion. Let's look at the income tab. Both players, Brian's at about 1,000 minerals per minute. Imperishable's at almost 1,000. Brian's peaking over a little bit over 1,000. But Imperishable does have 38 harvesters, so once he lays down that base, he's going to have such a high income. Over here we can see that Imperishable is going Marines, tanks, and Vikings. I think that's actually a pretty good build because Vikings will counter anything that try to hit the tanks, any air. Brian is going Thor, so that'll counter the Vikings. Brian's just got a wide unit arrangement right now. He's got a Hellion, he's got a Thor. Brian is going to be trying to take this high yield over here. I think this map is one of the safest maps for a high yield because it's really far away from your base. It's really far away from the enemy's base, so he'd have to actually be attacking in order to scout out a high yield. but Imperishable is going to be moving out. Vikings leading the way. Brian going to be spotting it with this Marine. Vikings still leading the way. He's got... Oops. He's got 7 siege tanks, 6 Vikings, and 26 Marines. Not sure if this is going to be enough to take it on, but Brian's army is engaging. He's stimming siege tanks, just now sieging up. These siege tanks, Brian's siege tanks haven't sieged up. Brian's army is completely gone now. He's just got a couple of Thors left. These Marines are going to pursue as best as they can. Taking out... No, not quite. Brian able to save his 2 Thors. Brian's got a couple units trying to intercept them, but Imperishable is going to be regrouping. Brian's in a struggle right now. He's got to get some units out quick. He needs some siege tanks sieged up right now. He's got medevacs. Brian could use some drop play right now while he's being contained. Imperishable's got a lot of Vikings. I'm actually not quite sure what they're for. Probably just vision. Right here we can see Brian taking another command center. Thor is doing really good against the Vikings. Imperishable siege tank sieging up, almost destroying this one siege tank over here. Marines going for that one command center. Scans going down, Vikings moving in. Yeah, Imperishable's definitely just using the Vikings for vision. Brian's holding out pretty nicely, but this does not look good for him right now. There are just a lot of Marines and a lot of siege tanks. Brian's trying to get out as many units as he can, but he just doesn't have enough production buildings at the moment. Over here we can see that Imperishable's got about 4 barracks and like 2 factories. So that's why his army is a lot bigger. His economy is also a lot higher. Scans going down. Freaking dang it again, Jared is so annoying. This is gonna be way out of sync, I bet. Imperishable just massing up his units right now. He's got 40 Marines, 7 siege tanks, and 6 Vikings. Brian trying to move in, but these siege tanks are just so strong. Probably should have sent in the Thors first so they could absorb most of the damage. And Brian just GG's right there. Oh my gosh. This is the first time I've seen Brian lose in the tournament. So, Imperishable is going to take a win. The score is 1-1 now, and we are going to a 3rd match. I really don't know what Brian did. I just don't know. Imperishable had the upper economy the whole game, I think. But he also had these 3 extra barracks, and that made the biggest difference. He also had more siege tanks. And I guess Brian pretty much lost when he had pushed with that main army of his at the beginning. Anyways, I'll be casting the 3rd game soon enough. Stay tuned for it.